DameColleenBayer from Family Life International. The theme that's running through all the speakers and presentations over this weekend is about the sanctity of human life. It will be more overt from some than it will be from others, but it's the importance of human beings and the sanctity of life that is the underlying message from all whom you will hear tonight and all whom you will hear at this convention, as has always been the case. So DameColleenBayer from Family Life International, Colleen will tell you something about how it all started in those early days in New Zealand in 1992, and she can take it from here. ColleenBayer.
Thank you very much. Hello and good evening and welcome to each and every one of you. It's a real joy and a magnificent pleasure to be with you again this evening to share with you a little of the culture of life and what has been happening since we met here at this time last year. Many of us here will remember the conversion story of Malcolm Muggeridge. He was an amazing English journalist and media personality. His deep journey toward the discovery of the Catholic faith was inspired by the great and self-giving love of Blessed Mother Teresa of Calcutta. One of his most profound statements was the conclusion that he came to himself that this life in us, however low it flickers, or however fiercely it burns, is still a divine flame, which no man dare presume to put out, be his motives ever so humane and enlightened. To suppose otherwise would countenance a death wish. Either life is always and in all circumstances sacred, or intrinsically of no account. It is inconceivable that it should be in some cases the one and in some the other. When speaking of his conversion, Malcolm explained that it was the Catholic Church's firm stand against contraception and abortion which finally made me decide to become a Catholic. The natural law written on every person's heart had stirred this man in his search for eternal truth. And he found truth, and has had so many others in the Catholic Church, the Church which is not afraid to speak up for life in this culture of death which threatens to destroy mankind today. Malcolm also said of his conversion, "I have found a resting place in the Catholic Church. I have a sense of homecoming, of picking up the threads of a lost life, of responding to a bell that had long been ringing, of taking a place at a table that had long been vacant." There are so many people like Malcolm who are coming home, all thanks to God. And the homecomings throughout the Western world extend to countless abortionists and Planned Parenthood staff whose conversions seem to be growing with great speed, and in particular in the United States of America. Perhaps the most well-known of the homecomers in the pro-life movement is Bernard Nathanson. A staunch promoter of so-called abortion rights, he presided over more than 60,000 abortions. He came to the realisation that what he was doing was evil, that it was very wrong, that he was destroying the lives of real unborn children and babies, and in fact he had aborted his very own son. He left the abortion industry, and sometime later he found his resting place, his place at the table of the Lord through the Catholic Church. And in fact, he was brought into the church on Easter Sunday at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, just a few blocks around the road from the Holy Respite Convent of the Sisters of Blythe, whose presence are we graced with this evening. Bernard Nathanson then spent the rest of his life repenting and making reparation for the sin of the abortions that he had committed. He spent his life praying, of speaking and helping women in need. Another example is Abby Johnson, a formidable young woman, very, very bubbly, beautiful, magnificent lady. And she was brought up a Christian, but she found herself first volunteering in a Planned Parenthood institution. But it wasn't long before she was asked to actually help out with the actual abortions and with helping with the ultrasounds because they were short-staffed. And after many years of promoting this business, and she was a very fine businesswoman and a great marketer of the industry, for that is what it is, an industry, Abby came to see on an ultrasound one Saturday morning that the tiny baby on that screen looked just like her own little baby daughter at that stage in pregnancy. She couldn't believe what she had been involved in. And she immediately thought of all of the people down the road at the pro-life prayer meeting outside abortion places that had been praying for her for many years and whom she had regarded as the enemy. She knew in her heart that Saturday morning that they would become her friends, her greatest friends. And so it was, over a period of time, that Abby came into the Catholic Church herself. She came home. She found her place at the table, that vacant seat that was waiting for her to fill in the Holy Catholic Church. She is married, and her husband and herself are expecting their third baby now, and they spend their lives promoting the gospel of life. Another example of an ex-abortionist coming home to the Holy Catholic faith, and there are many and many of them. But this lady, Joy Davis, was quite sad because she found herself working in an abortion place. She didn't have a license to perform abortions, but the money-hungry, greedy boss doctor that she had was intent on building up his business to be a formidable money-making business, and he became so busy, but he became greedier and greedier for more and more abortions, more and more blood money. And so it was that he trained up Joy to actually perform abortions. She wasn't a doctor. She did not have an abortion license, but he gradually got rid of professional people that he had working in his abortories, and he would then train Joy up and expect her to perform abortions. Now one day, Joy was performed an abortion, and she watched, or the doctor was there, I beg your pardon, but this lady started hemorrhaging quite severely. And Joy took fright. She was very concerned because each of these people actually go into the abortion industry firstly because they truly believe that they are helping women. The money in the business does seem to develop from that and come after that. So Joy was naturally very concerned about this hemorrhaging woman. So she went to that doctor, I think it was Dr. Tucker, and she said to him, look, this woman needs to be monitored. She's bleeding very heavily. Something is very, very wrong. And he just brushed her aside and he said, you go and monitor her. Leave me alone, I have things to do. And so she went, but she got very concerned again about this poor woman. She got so concerned at this hemorrhaging that she called an ambulance. She then reported to the doctor that she had called an ambulance, and he reprimanded her and told her to cancel it straight away, that it was bad for his business and he did not want any ambulance coming to his facility. She cancelled the ambulance. She said, but please come and monitor her. You need to examine this woman. She is bleeding very profusely. I'm very concerned about her. He said, you go and monitor yourself. I have a plane to catch. And with that, he walked out of that abortion facility. And so Joy did ring the ambulance again. The ambulance came, but unfortunately, the lady died in hospital of severe hemorrhaging. This terrible, terrible incident cut through to the very heart and soul of this woman. It caused her great pain, great sorrow, and great remorse. And so it was eventually too that she found her solace, her healing, and her reconciliation through the Catholic Church. She came home to the Catholic Church, and I'd just like to share with you a friend of hers invited her to Holy Mass, and Joy recounts that first time she attended Mass. And then one day, a friend invited me to go to Mass with her. I had never been to a Mass, but as I walked into that chapel and saw the Blessed Sacrament, I felt that God was there. And I felt I had to go back there every day, because through being in His presence, that He would take my pain away. Many abortion workers who leave the industry report that they were touched by the love of the sidewalk counsellors and their constant prayers. They also report that once they came to see the ultrasound or the actual remains of an aborted child, and could see what they had truly been involved in, they themselves had allowed them to become entrapped in a world of misery, of lies and money-making, and for what end? There's yet another group of people who are coming home. They're coming home to the faith. They're finding their place, their vacant seat at the table of the Lord. And these are aborted women. They're women who come to my friend Pauline and our co-workers through Project Rachel to be healed and reconciled in the church for their abortion or abortions. Not only those women who have had medical abortions, but we have discovered too those women who have been involved with IVF treatment and have frozen embryos nearing the end of their shelf life are coming to Project Rachel for healing, because they know deep in their soul that there is suspended life, and what are they going to do for their children that will never be. Now, this year marks the 40th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. It was a landmark decision in the United States to make abortion legal. This shocking thing has had repercussions right throughout, mainly the Western world. And do you know, in that 40 years, that no fewer than 1.72 billion children have been aborted. They have been sucked from their mother's womb. And here in God's own, 441,948 precious Kiwi children have been aborted here in New Zealand. Now, that is not chemical abortion. It's not all of the misreporting, unreported abortions that have taken place. That is the actual medical abortion numbers only. It speaks nothing of abortifacient contraception, which is so widespread in this country. But you know, with all of this, people often say to me, "But aren't you sick of all this stuff? You're getting nowhere. How come things haven't changed? How come the law hasn't changed? And don't you ever see an end in sight? It all seems so futile." But my reply always is, I always knew from the outset that this cause for life would be a lifetime commitment. I do not despair, because I see so many signs of hope, so many professionals, especially overseas, turning away from the grisly business of destroying life. We haven't witnessed that so much in New Zealand to date, but we take faith and hope, and we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they will turn away, that this will happen. So we have to be patient and allow God to do things in His own way and in His own timing. I guess the only real questions I have ever had is trying to relate and grasp to understand why would professionals have had all this wonderful training, medical, legal, doctors and nurses, why would they ever think for one moment that sucking the child out of a mother's womb is helping women? That is the only question. I can't understand that. It just defies logic and common sense. But we, of course, have a huge challenge and a long bridge to cross. We have to be vigilant always, not to get trapped in the snares of the devil. And so when we think and call out to God and say, "How long, Father? How long is it going to be before people in this land and in this world will start respecting life again? How long?" We must remember that the innocent lamb led to the slaughter laid down his life for us. He taught us to let our light shine and never turn back once we have placed our hand upon the plough. And we remember the fate of both Pharaoh and Goliath, by Moses lifting a wooden staff and David with a single stone. Two great and mighty forces were defeated. And our strength does not originate in our abilities alone, but in the mighty power of God at work in us, in our obedience and taking the love approach of the foot soldiers of Christ. One by one, the lost take their place at the table of the Lord. And so when we reflect on the national situation here, I don't despair. I don't get despondent. I see so many wonderful, great, fantastic things happening. So many young people rising up for the cause of life, grasping their Catholic faith, embracing their Catholic faith. They are formidable witnesses to life and will be our future leaders. It's amazing. It's beautiful. We're seeing them become more and more committed. We're seeing more homes for pregnant mothers coming up. We are seeing a huge campaign to defy eugenics and to fight for the lives of unborn babies diagnosed with Down syndrome and other fetal and fatal anomalies. We see hope, love and commitment in our church. We see new life initiatives springing up throughout the country, and we are encouraged by those who sowed the seeds of the life movement here in New Zealand, including Bishop Patrick Dunn's own father, the late Dr. Patrick Dunn, and those of us who are committed to their last breath to the cause of life. And when we consider that every traditional institution in our society, the legal, medical, political and educational, have been infiltrated by the evil one, with now the final bastion, the breakdown of the institution of marriage between husband and wife, the only true means of life-giving future of humanity, it is no wonder that the pro-life cause can seem so hard. But with the recent history of our Holy Fathers, and we heard the magnificent testimony with Bishop Patrick Dunn this evening of Holy Father Francis, but we flick back a little bit to John Paul II, Blessed John Paul II the Great, and to our wonderful, amazing Pope Benedict XVI, and how they've led thousands and thousands of young people through the World Youth Days, the greatest and biggest gatherings ever in the world. Of course, we have to be a people of hope and love and joy. And now we see with our beloved Pope Francis, his humility, his love to go out and wash the feet of the prisoners. And straight after, I think the day after he became the Holy Father, he went over to Sancta Maria Maggiore over on the other side of town, and he blessed the 5-month in utero baby of one of the workers at the key basilica there. He knows, and we know, that this cause for life is the most important work on earth. It's what John Paul II told Father Paul Marks in 1979. It is the most important work on earth. And we know that it is the greatest social justice issue of our time. At FLI, we take the love approach with mothers facing a crisis pregnancy. We save babies from abortion. And this week, we had the Sisters of Life with us from New York. We have John Henry Weston from Canada, all of whom are teaching us how to fight, how to pray, how to be beautiful people for God in this mixed up world. We're going to invite you to Liston House on Sunday the 14th to hear John Henry speak on same-sex marriage and the threat to religious freedom, and to join in a prayer vigil with us for authentic marriage in New Zealand. We continuously hold prayer vigils for life, seminars to promote the cause of life, and we help our branch in Manila. We're planning a conference in September, Rise Up Together in the Service of Life. We're planning a 40 Days of Life for next Lent, and more Love Approach counselling training for crisis pregnancy centres. But you know, all of the work we do is about the little babies, isn't it? And I want to introduce you to some very special twins, and I hope you can see this because I haven't prepared a PowerPoint this evening. I'd like to introduce you to these little babies. The mother came to us not long after I had been here this time last year, and she came to live in our family home. She gave birth to her twins, little Thomas and Bella, and they lived with us for several months. And these babies have life because people like you get behind us, you pray for us, and you support our work. And last night when I got home from a magnificent retreat of about 50 young people at our John Paul II Centre for Life with the Sisters of Life, there was a message on my phone from Claire in Wellington, who runs our John Paul II Centre for Life there. And one of the young ladies that she had been working with gave birth to a little girl yesterday morning. Her name is Alana. Now she has her life because of your commitment, because of your help, because we were able to make a pledge to her to pay for all her medical expenses, her hospital fees, and everything else that goes with having a baby when you're an immigrant to New Zealand and not entitled to any financial assistance. And that's thousands and thousands of dollars. But of course you can't put the dollar sign on little Alana's head. We don't know why God has created her and what beautiful gifts of love and joy she's going to bring her mother. 2 weeks ago, little Elizabeth was born. Beautiful, beautiful young lady who was very afraid and didn't know what to do. But my co-worker and beautiful lady Pauline worked with her and helped her. And our other co-worker Lillian, who is a Tongan, was able to speak to Elizabeth's family to help them to accept this little child, to help them to accept Elizabeth's pregnancy. And 2 weeks ago, Elizabeth gave birth to a son, and they're all home together. A beautiful family story. We're also imminently waiting the birth of 2 little babies, one in Auckland and one in Wellington, and whose future we're not sure yet. That's all in God's hands. But maybe some magnificent adoptive families are going to take those children home, and their mothers will be able to continue on with their studies and the goals that they have set for their lives. And so there are wonderful stories of life, of hope, of joy, very compelling stories that show us very clearly the magnificent and beautiful Easter message of the risen Christ. Excuse me. We will continue to work for the culture of life and to build an authentic civilization of love. The message of Easter fills us with hope and courage and determination. The stone has been rolled back and the power of death has been destroyed forever. There's nothing to fear. Yes, we face obstacles that seem staggering, but we do not face them empty-handed. We face them in power and love and deep faith. And I want to express my heartfelt thanks this evening to Bishop Patrick Dunn, to John and Beth Porteous, to Bill and Anna Moore, and all who assist in making this convention possible. To our Friends for Life, who so willingly always respond when we knock on your door for prayers and for financial assistance. I wish to thank the thousands of girls and women who have come to bring their babies to birth. It's not easy to swim against the tide, especially when the whole culture out there is to say, look after yourself, get rid of your problem, do what you feel is best for yourself. But God will bless you. God will bless each of the children in your womb, and He will bring true happiness and peace. I would like to have finished with the great prayer for life from John Paul II. So I'm not sure. Are we able to show it on the screen or not, Peter? No. Okay. Many of you will have been handed John Paul II's prayer for life. If you can see it well enough, perhaps we could join together now and pray that great prayer for life by John Paul II. Okay. O Mary, bright dawn of the new world, mother of the living, to you do we entrust the cause of life. Look down, O Mother, upon the vast numbers of babies not allowed to be born, on the poor, on the victims of violence, on the elderly and the sick killed by indifference or out of misguided mercy. Grant that all who believe in your Son may proclaim the gospel of life with honesty and love to the people of our time. Attain for them the grace to accept that gospel as a gift ever new, the joy of celebrating it with praises. Heart has courage to bear the witnesses. Peoples of goodwill, a civilization of truth and love, to praise and glory of God, the Creator and lover of life. Amen. You will also have been given this magnificent prayer unto the defence of marriage, and I would encourage you to take that with you. We also have printed out the first chapter of Abby Johnson's book. It's very, very compelling reading. It's a must read, and so I would encourage you to get your free copy of this first chapter and take it home and read it and reflect. Thank you very much. We look forward to the convention. Thank you.